care of you and the rest of your family lineage.
Everyone, Jag Taggart 93 here with another comprehensive Doom WOD review. Today we're looking at Jason C. King's Dracula, a WOD where you have to infiltrate the legendary vampire's castle, find his coffin, and put him to rest. Now I really couldn't resist trying this one out when I saw in the review file that the author says they did a little bit of voice acting for the role of Dracula in this WOD. So when I saw that the author went the extra mile with that little detail, I hoped that this would be a good one, and yeah, it is actually pretty good. There's a nice blend of realism and otherworldly rooms going on. There's blood fountains, hellscapes, libraries, a royal throne / coffin room, or that's where the boss fight ensues. The detail to this one is pretty good. The author made some really smart use of the Doom inherited textures in a way that I've honestly never really seen before. For example, these eyes that we're seeing here, how they're wrapped around that texture, it's really interesting, really creepy, and it's repeated throughout the map, and kudos to the author for thinking up things like that. The floors are very nicely detailed, as are the walls, columns, panels, windows, and really everything just smacks of detail and care. Now I have a hard time believing that this WOD was completed within a week, as the reading file states. Either Jason has really devoted a time in that week to making this map, or they're just really good at making aesthetically pleasing maps with a lot of detail. Now as for the gameplay, the tempo is pretty fast paced and consistent, and very procedural. You move from room to room, and as you're going you clear out everything inside from that room, move on to the next one, clear out everything, and so on. There are a few rooms that really break up the flow a bit. There is one small hub area towards the end. There is one room that feels a little awkward. It's a large one that contains a cyber demon, and here you don't have to fight the cyber demon. I really don't think the intention is to fight it at all. You could if you want, but much easier just to run around, avoid the rockets, flip the switch, and leave. And I called this room awkward, not because of the cyber demon fight. It's actually a nice change of pace in terms of gameplay, but this room, I know I went on about the aesthetics of the WOD, but this room is very plain, and it just feels very by the numbers to have this map here. It kind of goes well, though, too, in one sense. I mean, not the room itself, but what happens next. Next is another room that really breaks up the flow, where you come to this large area. And in this large area, you have basically an ocean or a moat of blood, a bridge over it, and Dracula's castle in the distance with guards that are shooting at you. And between where you are and the castle, along the bridge, are lost souls. And again, this area is absolutely humongous, and it's really cool that the author did this. I love it when authors do this, where they present a map that has a very one look or one feel to it, and then just as you're getting used to that feel, they switch it on you. So for example, with this WOD, the feel for much of the WOD is very enclosed, very tight, very closed off. I wouldn't say claustrophobic, but again, room by room, corridor by corridor. Then we come to this large open area, and it's a nice way to signal to the player too that you're getting closer to the end and business is about to pick up. Now unfortunately, this map is mostly on the easy side, and it doesn't have a difficulty settings. The only really challenging areas, in my opinion, are the cyber demon encounter, which I mentioned just a few seconds ago, and also the boss fight against Dracula, which can be a bit annoying if you're unfamiliar with how the Nosferatu's attacks work. And yeah, he has basically two major attacks, and they hurt a lot if you're not ready for them, but there's a lot of room to move, stuff to get, take cover behind. One of them works like a homing rocket from a Revenant, so not too much of a big deal. And if you find yourself low on plasma cells for any reason, there's plenty here, so you have more than enough ammunition to take down Dracula. And speaking of plasma cells, ammunition in this map is a lot. There's plenty of it. You're not going to go for lacking when it comes to ammunition. Health is pretty nicely spaced out too. I think maybe a little too much. There's one suspicious soul sphere, which I'll get to in a little bit. I did want to touch on the enemy placement as well. And the enemy placement is pretty good for the most part. There's opportunities where you can use pinkies as meat shields to protect you against Cacodemon fireballs. There's opportunities for those pinkies also to be used as meat shields for their demon counterparts. There's one area early on where you have a Hell Knight, actually. Yes, Hell Knight and Revenant, actually. Two Revenants, actually. And the Hell Knight almost acts like a meat shield for the Revenant if you're not able to get to them quickly. So, really nice mix-up of enemies. There are archviles, but archviles usually appear after you've provided them some fodder to resurrect. So for the most part, the enemy placement's on point. And again, I love the Lost Souls too in that open area. Putting Lost Souls and flying enemies in open areas, that's a no-brainer, but I see a lot of authors miss out on that opportunity. But one area I had my head scratching was the bridge area, not the one in front of the castle, but there's another bridge area where you have enemies teleporting on the bridge, and they all teleport right in front of you, so it's not too big of a deal. It's kind of silly, I think. But while this is happening, there's a cacodemon underneath the bridge. It's low underneath, and it's in a corner where it can't really get at you, and you're not able to get at it, not unless you have mouse look on. And if you know how I like to do my WADs, I like keeping my mouse look off to keep it as, natural as possible, as Doom-like as possible. I don't feel like I should have mouse look on, unless the WAD calls for it. But anyway, this one enemy can't really get at you, and you really want to get at the enemy. You have two things that really want to kill each other, the Caco and the Doom guy. You can't do it, so you just kind of awkwardly walk on. And you never really come back to this area, so it just feels kind of silly. Now, I mentioned the Soul Sphere being awkward. There was a Soul Sphere placed in the library area, and I really liked the library area, actually. It's a lived-in area, one you would expect to find in a castle, and the combat here is pretty by the numbers. You go row to row, you clear out, the shotgunners, the Hell Knights, and there's all these books. I'm assuming everything from non-fiction to fiction, from children's books to space books to biographies to Bibles and everything in between and above and below. But you eventually get to this librarian's desk, and there's a soul sphere there, and I'm thinking, okay, this librarian has a soul sphere. They left it on their desk. If I take it, the librarian, whoever it is or whatever it is going to confront us. So I'm anticipating some build-up, because again, we are working our way up to the soul sphere that's at this room. I grabbed the soul sphere, and nothing. Now, I was banging on about the difficulty of the SWAT, or lack thereof, and here was just kind of failed anticipation. I felt like when I get the soul sphere, I should encounter the librarian. The librarian could be an archvile, for example. There's plenty of fodder that I just gave for the archvile to resurrect with the shotgunners, for example. Could be a revenant, could be a baron of hell, could be something else, but yeah, I was really disappointed that when I got the soul sphere. I mean, yes, it's always welcome getting a soul sphere, but when you're building up to it with combat in a room like that, and you put it in a set piece location like this desk here, this librarian desk, I'm expecting something there, but not really, no. So kind of disappointing. And speaking of disappointing, the ending. Now, I did enjoy the boss fight, and again, I love the voice acting as well too. But when I took down the Nosferatu, the WAD didn't end. I was expecting it to, because I just killed Dracula, but no. So I get a blue key, and I'm thinking, okay, why do I need a blue key unless there's more to do in the map? Maybe we have to escape the castle now, right? And while we're escaping, we're going to encounter the Nosferatu again, this time maybe with some friends. We didn't actually kill Dracula. Dracula's kind of hard to kill, so maybe this time we got to take him out, and then the map will end. So that's what I'm thinking. Why else would you have a blue key here? So I grab the blue key, a teleporter opens up, and I'm thinking, great, and I go through the blue door, there's a switch, I'm expecting something to happen, and no, that's the end of the map. So I'm just kind of scratching my head wondering, what the hell? Why would you do that? Why would you have a blue key open a blue door to a switch in a castle, especially when you're doing so well at presenting a lived-in, realistic environment? I'm expecting us to, if the map's going to continue after we kill Dracula, which was our objective, I would expect it to be escaping the castle, but instead we just flip a switch. And that's how you end so many other Doom WADs. And yeah, it works. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But with an author who is spending so much attention to detail, for it to go out like that, I was kind of disappointed. But yeah, it may sound like I'm nitpicking on this map a bit, even ripping on it. But make no mistake, this WAD is a very, very good one, actually. It's great, actually. I give this one a 78% because it's so much fun to play. There's so much detail as well, too. There's a lot here that could be done more to make it an excellent or even near perfect WAD, in my opinion. But even with all that, it's still a blast to play, and I highly recommend you give this one a shot this weekend. Alright, and that is all I really have to say about it. Thank you all for watching. This is Jag Taggart 93 signing out. You have a good one.